Think about your parents for a second, or your grandparents. One of them worked. Maybe a factory job, maybe a government job, maybe something that did not require a degree. And with that one income, they bought a house, raised kids, kept the lights on, put food on the table, and eventually retired. Not wealthy, just stable, comfortable. That was just how normal life worked. Now think about where you are right now. How many people in your household are working? How many paychecks does it take just to cover rent, groceries, car payments, and health insurance before you have saved a single dollar? Because if it takes two of you working full-time just to stay afloat, you are not imagining things. Something real changed, and nobody told you what it was. Today we are going to break down exactly what happened to the middle class. Why two incomes now buy less security than one income did 50 years ago. Why the harder you work, the further away financial freedom seems to get. And what the people who actually escaped this trap did differently. This is not a video about blaming the economy or feeling sorry for yourself. This is about understanding the mechanism so you can stop running on a treadmill that was designed to stay one step ahead of you. If this sounds like something you or someone you know needed to hear, subscribe, like and share this before we get into it. What you are about to find out changes how you see everything. Here is where it started. In 1970, the median American family earned $9,870 a year. One income. And with that, they could buy a house that cost roughly 3.7 times their annual salary. They could raise children. They could retire with a pension. Healthcare cost $353 per person per year. College tuition at a public university was manageable enough that students could work part-time to cover it. The math worked. Not comfortably, not luxuriously, but it worked. Fast forward to today. The median household income is around $87,000 a year. That sounds like a lot more. And it is more, nominally. But the math has been completely destroyed underneath that number. A median-priced home today costs over $400,000. That is more than 5 times the median household income nationally. In Los Angeles, the home price-to-income ratio is closer to 12 times. In New York, it sits at nearly 10 times. And to afford even that median-priced home, Redfin's most recent analysis found that you need to be earning at least $110,000 a year. The median household income is $87,000, which means the average American family is already $23,000 short of what it takes just to afford a median home before they have paid for food, transportation, healthcare, childcare, or anything else. So how did families respond to this gap? They sent the second parent to work. In 1970, only about 30% of families had both spouses in the workforce. By the time we reached the 1990s, that number had climbed past 60%. Today it sits at around 70%. Two incomes became the norm. The assumption became that two paychecks meant twice the financial security. That assumption turned out to be completely wrong. This is where a Harvard law professor named Elizabeth Warren spent decades of her career, studying bankruptcy filings, interviewing families, and trying to understand why so many middle-class people with decent incomes were going broke. And what she found was the mechanism that nobody was talking about publicly. When women entered the workforce in large numbers and family incomes went up, the market adjusted. Not gradually, aggressively. And the first place it adjusted was housing. Families started competing for homes in better school districts because better schools meant better opportunities for their kids. More families with more money, same number of desirable neighborhoods. Prices went up. Then they went up more. Then they went up again. Home prices have risen 1,608% since 1970. Inflation over the same period rose 644%. If home prices had simply kept pace with inflation, a median home today would cost $177,000 instead of over $400,000. The extra $223,000 is what the market absorbed from that second paycheck. The market priced in the additional income before families could save any of it. And then the trap snaps shut, because now that second income is not extra money. It is committed money. It goes to the larger mortgage the family had to take on to compete for a house in a decent area. It goes to childcare, because now both parents are at work instead of one being home. It goes to the second car, the extra fuel, the professional wardrobe, the meals that get outsourced because nobody has time to cook. Elizabeth Warren's research concluded that a two-income family today earns 75% more than a single-income family of a generation ago, but has 25% less discretionary income after fixed costs are paid. Read that again and let it land. More income. Less money to spend, save, or fall back on. But there is a second layer to this trap that is even more dangerous than the first, and most people never see it until it is too late. When a single-income family in 1970 faced a financial crisis, one parent was already at home. That parent could get a job. The family had a safety net built in. Unused income capacity sitting ready to deploy in an emergency. A two-income family today has no such safety net. Both earners are already working. Both paychecks are already committed to fixed costs before the month even starts. Lose one income and the entire financial structure collapses simultaneously. The mortgage, the childcare, the car payments, all of it built around two paychecks. Remove one and everything falls at once. This is why the rate of bankruptcy among families with children exploded over the past 5 decades. Having a child became the single strongest predictor that a family would go bankrupt. Not reckless spending. Not a gambling problem. Not poor financial decisions. Having a child. Because the costs of maintaining a middle-class life became structurally incompatible with the income available to pay for them, and wages did not keep up with any of it. After adjusting for inflation, median household income grew by around 7% in total between 2000 and the mid-2020s. Just 7% of real growth across more than 2 decades. Meanwhile, home prices rose over 400% in nominal terms over the same period. But housing was just the beginning. Healthcare in 1970 cost $353 per person per year. By 2024, that number had risen to $15,474 per person per year, according to the Peterson KFF Health System Tracker. That is a nearly 44 times increase in the same period that wages grew by a fraction of that. And here's the part that makes this truly brutal. 66.5% of all personal bankruptcies in the United States are linked to medical expenses. Over 530,000 American families file for bankruptcy due to medical bills every year. Not because they made bad choices. Not because they were irresponsible. Because one person in the household got sick, and the cost of getting sick in America is now large enough to erase everything a middle-class family has spent years building. And 78% of those people had health insurance when it happened. Then there is the student loan crisis, which is not really a student loan crisis at all. It is the logical extension of everything we have already described. Families in the two-income trap could not save enough to fund their children's education, so the next generation was told to borrow. Tuition at public four-year colleges has nearly tripled in inflation-adjusted terms since 1970. Total student loan debt in America now stands at $1.86 trillion as of mid-2026. 42.7 million Americans are carrying federal student loan debt with an average balance of around $40,000. And borrowers with more than $35,000 in student debt are 27% less likely to become homeowners, which means the next generation cannot even get onto the first rung of the ladder that the previous generation was told would build their wealth. The trap did not just catch the parents, it was inherited by the children. So what does all of this add up to when you put it together? Two incomes flowing into a household that keeps less than 25 cents of every dollar after fixed costs. Healthcare that can erase years of savings with a single diagnosis. Student debt that delays homeownership, marriage, and family formation for a generation. And a bankruptcy rate that continues climbing, with 591,850 filings in the 12 months ending March 2026 alone, an increase of nearly 12% from the year before. The middle class is not failing because it stopped working hard. It is failing because the cost of maintaining a middle-class life has grown faster than the income available to pay for it, and the gap has been filled with debt, stress, and the quiet erosion of every safety net that was supposed to protect families from the unexpected. So what did the people who actually escaped this trap do differently? They did not work harder. They changed what they were working toward. They stopped optimizing for income and started optimizing for assets. They understood that a paycheck, no matter how large, feeds into the same system that absorbs it. Housing absorbs it. Healthcare absorbs it. Inflation absorbs it. The treadmill speeds up to match your effort. The only way off the treadmill is to own something that generates value while you sleep. Something the system cannot simply reprice to match your next raise. Farmland held value when everything crashed in 2008. Defensive businesses kept generating cash when the economy contracted. Strategic cash reserves turned a crisis into a buying opportunity. These are not exotic investments available only to the wealthy. They are the result of understanding how the system actually works, instead of playing by the rules that the system designed for you to follow while it extracts value from your labor. The people who got ahead were not luckier. They were not smarter in any dramatic sense. They understood one thing that most people are never taught. Working more inside a broken system does not fix the system. It just makes you more productive for it. You now understand what they understood. What you do with that information is up to you. Subscribe, like, and share this with someone who is working 2 jobs and still cannot get ahead. They deserve to know exactly why.